jury or the judge is going to too. So,
Dan, you can pick your piece. Cameras in the courtroom, Race and Michael Jackson.
I'll just quick, cameras in the courtroom, you know, the concern about bias in the media, to me the answer is put a camera in there. If you want to watch it, the whole trial, you can watch it. You don't have to rely on me if you don't trust me or whoever else. I think that's the strongest argument for a camera in the courtroom. I think it was a good question you asked, actually, about Michael Jackson and his appearance. And is he... I do think that there's too much focus on his appearance in the media, but I don't think that the reason is because of race. I would argue that the reason is because he has changed before the eyes of the public, and as a result, I think he's getting a harder time than another person might, because people are seeing him, have seen how much different he looks. And again, whether it's based on disease or makeup or whatever the case may be, I think that's why he's getting teased, so to speak, and I think there's no other way to say it honestly than someone else might. And in response to the question about, you know, do I think that people were being fair to Michael Jackson, again, you know, you're talking to someone who came into this very dubious of this family, and I remain dubious of this family. I think that's exactly the kind of person that you want. I'm skeptical in general. I was skeptical of this story that this family was telling. I think what Tom said about the conspiracy charge was right on. It didn't make sense. I'd say it again and again. It doesn't make sense. I think that's fair. And, you know, look, if you think Michael Jackson's absolutely 100% innocent, and that if you accept everything Tom has said, that these were simply invented charges by a vindictive prosecutor, and that's your position, then you're not going to think that I was being objective. But I think that if you view it from a more balanced perspective, which is that these prosecutors came into it thinking that, and a grand jury found that there was enough evidence to send Michael Jackson to trial, but in the end, that's what a trial's for, and that the system worked in this case, I think it's a pretty balanced perspective on the case.
Tom?
Yeah, let me start with the issue of race. I recently addressed the annual convention of the National Bar Association in Los Angeles, and if any of you don't know what the National Bar Association is, that's an organization of lawyers that was formed in the 1920s when black lawyers could not get into the American Bar Association. They had a strict prohibition. Blacks were not allowed to join, and black lawyers formed the National Bar Association in response to that prohibition. And I gave my views on race in the Michael Jackson case. A law professor from Florida asked me a few questions. He had just published a book about race and the law, which I want to read as soon as I can. And he sort of was skeptical that did I really understand the deeper implications of race in this case. And I answered him this way. I said, look, I am convinced that the prosecutors were very, very attracted to the idea of convicting the world's greatest celebrity. I'm convinced they were far more attracted to that than destroying a black person. Okay, these are three white prosecutors, okay? However, racism can exist on an unconscious or a subconscious level as well as a conscious level. And I said the following, I said, you know, you've got me thinking about this. I'm still convinced I'm correct that it was the celebrity part that was most attractive to them. It was the celebrity part that was going to get them significant advantages as the prosecutors who took down Michael Jackson, the world's greatest known entertainer. However, did the fact that Michael Jackson is black, that he is from a prominent black family, that he has black security people around him, factor into their feelings or belief, be it conscious or unconscious, that this would somehow help them disconnect him from this jury and this community and make him less valuable and easier to convict? Maybe. Maybe. I just don't think it was the primary motive. I just don't. But, you know, the fact that he was clearly going to arrive at court surrounded by black people, he was going to have black people in the courtroom, his family primarily supporting him, and the fact that you were not likely to get any blacks on the jury. In fact, there were two black women were possible jurors. They removed the two of them. I did raise a constitutional objection, which was denied. Did that play a part in their effort to figure out how convictable he was? How we could degrade and devalue him in the courtroom in some level? I think it could have. Because this was a very mean-spirited prosecution. They attacked everything about him, his sexuality, his finances, his music, his attire. They were willing to do anything. And I've got to tell you, I heard Dan, whose show I appeared on after the verdicts, and I appeared on not very many of them, but I did appear on his because he's always been very professional and honorable with me. But I heard him mention this idea of pornography. Well, he's correct. They found approximately 90 girly magazines in Michael Jackson's home. Playboy, Hustler, Penthouse. His fingerprints were on them. He had bought them. They never found any kiddie porn on computers or anywhere else. And I used that fact in my closing argument to explain why this guy is not a pedophile. So, a lot of things that the media picked up and gave you a surface impression about were not at all what they were made to seem.
Well, thank all of our presenters, Martha Cokeley, Dan Abrams, and Tom Mesereau. Thank you for coming. Have a great evening. Yes, I'm going to have to go. They'll pick you up over there. Okay? Oh, okay. Is he going on? Right, okay.